Hello, and welcome to a slightly subdued and maybe depressed episode of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
And I'm very depressed, Bill.
Um, we're recording this obviously post Steelers loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we talked after the game, and we decided we would wait to do the podcast till after the next game, but it doesn't feel any different right now.
No, we're still going to be depressed. Anytime you see an offense go for over 500 yards, quarterback throws for 5 touchdowns, and you lose against a team that has no offense.
Well, had no offense
I'll
until
never
they.
understand it.
Yeah, I just don't either. I mean, hats off to Jacksonville. They obviously played a far better game.
They came out more physical and hit people. I mean, the Steelers had 3 guys in concussion protocol at different times in the game. So, I mean, they put a licking on the Steelers physically.
They did.
And then the Steelers, who led the NFL in sacks, didn't get a sack. And you could argue didn't get a real knockdown.
No, Bortles stayed pretty clean that game, except when he was running and got tackled.
Yeah.
Fournette just ran all over them.
Yeah, he was much more controlled after he hurt his ankle.
Yeah, after he hurt his ankle,
But Antonio Brown, again, there's no doubt in my mind he's the MVP. He should be the MVP. He makes catches with one hand. He makes catches with people draped on him. He's ridiculous.
And I'll give the announcers credit for pointing this one out. At least they did. I was listening to the game on local Steeler radio. But A.J. Bowie had great coverage on that first touchdown.
Yeah.
And if he had put his hands up right any time before, A.J. Bowie probably would have made that play. But he put his hand up at like the last second and snagged that ball.
Yeah, that's when he caught one-handed.
Yeah. And I mean, Le'Veon Bell played fantastic. He had like 160 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
And, Roethlisberger, his numbers look fantastic, but he did have the pick that led to the second Jacksonville touchdown deep in Pittsburgh territory.
Yeah.
And then obviously the big fumble that got returned, and he kind of did hold on to the ball pretty long on that particular play. But having said that, I mean, he puts up 5 touchdowns and 500 yards of passing offense against supposedly the best secondary in football. Even giving away, you still gave up 31 points to the Jacksonville Jaguars offense that supposedly has no offense.
We weren't stopping anybody today. We weren't going to stop the Browns. We weren't going to stop anybody today.
No. And I know the media is going to say that Pittsburgh was looking past Jacksonville, but the media needs to make... Well, the media needs to make stories like that. As Roethlisberger said, this team put a hurting on us. We all wanted to get revenge on this team, and they just came out and beat us again. So,
yeah.
I mean,
I think they're bitch.
Yeah.
I think they're 5-1 now in Pittsburgh.
They are. They've always had Pittsburgh's number. And you look at the stats. The Steelers lost 4 games this year. 2 of them to Jacksonville.
Half of them to Jacksonville.
Half of the losses were to Jacksonville. Exactly. That's.
Oh, it's sad.
It's sad. So now next week, the New England Patriots, who seem to have, since the Tuck rule, which gave them their first Super Bowl, to be the beneficiaries of every call ever, even if it is technically interpreted correctly by the rules, they seem to still benefit from every single call. And they seem to just catch a lot of breaks and getting to play the Titans last week, and then the AFC champion Jacksonville Jaguars at home in the snow, or whatever we get next week.
Yeah, but, Jacksonville played well today, so we'll see. I mean, I just don't see them, if Big Ben threw for 500-some yards on him, he's just going to kill him.
Well, I think, if you're going to play, you talk about making a team. I mean, all the great coaches say if you want to fight, you want to beat somebody, you got to make them one-handed. So if they're a great passing team, you got to take away the pass. Jacksonville's a great running team. Belichick is going to take away the run. I mean, I know that was the Steelers' game plan, and it didn't work because they still ran the ball right down their throats, and maybe they'll be able to do that.
Fournette only had 100 yards.
He had 100 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then Bortles added 40 yards, and Yeldon added yards too. So
Yeldon had more yards receiving. He had like 50 yards receiving.
Right.
He killed them on those little things, and then their tight ends killed us, and their fullbacks killed us.
Yeah.
We were not prepared for that team. We were out-coached and out-executed and out-hit.
So I know people don't like to. Well, who knows? It's the NFL playoffs, so people like to hear lots of Pittsburgh talk. So we'll play theoretical NFL owner. Instead of Sutton, our last name would be Rooney this week.
Okay.
Roethlisberger said he's coming back. Most of that team is under contract. Obviously, the Shazier loss was enormous, and you can't account for how good a player he is and how much he meant to that defense. But
Nope.
it's
I've
a
got to find a fast linebacker.
you got to find a fast linebacker. You got to lock Le'Veon Bell up. I know he
Yep.
threatened to sit. He'll sit out a year, but I mean, I think he's proven his worth over and over again. There's not another Le'Veon Bell in the league.
No.
If I can find a way, I'm going to pay him. But the big question is, do I bring back? Who do I bring back at this coaching staff? Because I look at a team that seems to seemingly have a ton of talent, that seems to struggle a lot, even on offense, where they seem to have an inordinate amount of talent. I mean, I think Todd Haley's an obvious. He's gone.
I would say so, but stranger things have happened.
And the Steelers are not one to want and change very quickly.
No.
But, and again, I think Tomlin is he seems like a really cool guy, and I enjoy his press conferences. But I feel like there's staples to the Steelers team during the Tomlin era. They lose 2 or 3 games every year to teams that they shouldn't lose to. I know it sounds weird to say it like that, but it seems like they do play. I mean, the knock on their Tomlin teams is that they play down to the level of competition. Which, again, this year they lost to the Bears.
Yeah, and the guy didn't throw for 100 yards.
And the guy didn't throw over 100 yards.
And Bortles didn't throw for 100 yards first time either.
And they played poorly against Cleveland that first game, too. They could have lost that very easily.
Oh, they played poorly a number of games.
Right.
Like today, though, they had too many deer in the headlights moments where it didn't look like they knew what they wanted to do. I mean, like that, right before he threw that pass to Bryant, they looked totally discombobulated.
And as I watched, they did, but maybe that was their plan, to look off and then throw the touchdown.
Maybe so. Then he should run that play more often.
But like I said, I feel like a team that doesn't always play to the level of competition. I see a team that typically doesn't make a lot of great halftime adjustments. And again, maybe I'm like I said, I'm biased. I enjoy watching the Steelers. I like their players. And maybe I overvalue
I disagree with you on the halftime adjustments. I think they played better in the second half every game this year. I don't think they come out ready to play.
Okay, well then there's one of those two.
I don't think they start games ready to play. And today they definitely didn't start games ready to play. They were out of. I mean, that game was 28-7.
Yeah,
it's amazing it ended up as close as it was, and it was amazing they kept coming back and having a chance to win.
Well, I did know.
At the end of the day, they couldn't stop anybody.
No, there seems to be some dissension though, because I notice. Again, I'm playing, armchair psychologist here, but when they were asking Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown and a few other players about some of the 4th down calls, they didn't say, they basically just said that's over our head. We don't make those decisions, and that seemed to be like a subtle way of sort of throwing the coaches under the bus on some level.
Maybe so.
Well,
I did agree with Tomlin, though. I would have onside kicked there only because I agree with Tomlin that they hadn't held him, and there was no reason to think they were going to hold him that time.
Well, except that they did hold them, but then they were, the penalty, and they put them right in field goal range, which ended the game, essentially.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's easy to second guess. Like, I do feel like, they asked Roethlisberger in the post-conference about the QB sneak. One of the reporters, I forget her name, but she said, you've ran the QB sneak on 4th down 19 times in your career. You've gotten the first down 18 times. Is there a reason you didn't do that? And he said, not my call, but I would have loved to have done it. So
I agree. I mean, I thought, yeah.
You have a 6'5", 260-pound quarterback. You have one of the better offensive lines in football. You need a half a yard. You just go for it, right?
That's what I would do. I was calling for the sneak here, sitting on the couch. Your mother and I were screaming at the TV, quarterback sneak, quarterback sneak. Didn't see it.
Now, again, I know the big question is always, if you get rid of this coach, who are you going to go get? So, but do you feel like you'd bring Tomlin back and just run it back again and just hope that, you get...
I'm going to defer till next week on that. I'm going to give myself a week.
Okay.
To see how I feel. I'm
going to say I feel like coaching is a big issue on this team and has been through this entire era. And I'm gonna look for another coach.
Okay. And meanwhile, the Saints just scored.
They did. This is a tough game because right now this Vikings-Saints team, having lost our Steelers, this is the winner of this game is who I'd like to see win the Super Bowl. because
Although I still have a soft spot for Philadelphia after what they did for you.
Philadelphia is fantastic. But I mean, we have friends with the Saints, and I'm in New Orleans now.
Yeah.
And we have family in Minnesota.
Yep.
Who would love to see a Vikings Super Bowl. I'm definitely rooting for the NFC winner.
I am too.
And again, maybe I'm hopefully, trying to jinx them, but I just don't see any, I didn't see any way that New England would lose to the Titans, and I just can't see them losing to Jacksonville at home.
I can't either.
I mean, no matter how I look at the numbers, I just don't see it happening. But we'll take football out for a little bit. We can move on to some professional basketball. Now, have you heard the rumblings, I guess rumblings, not grumblings, because it's positive, that at some point down the road, maybe sooner, that the Golden State Warriors are looking to add a different superstar to their team? That they love Anthony Davis. And that they'd be willing to part with Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and have a big three of Steph, KD, and AD.
Wow, that's a blockbuster.
It's a blockbuster.
It's a blockbuster that makes both teams better.
I think potentially it makes both teams better. Because if you're New Orleans, then you build around Boogie, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, and you play Boogie.
That's a tough team.
That's a tough team.
Physically tough team. That's a team that beats your ass.
It is. And obviously, when he's healthy, Anthony Davis is one of the 5-6 best players in the NBA. But I do think we've reached a point with Anthony Davis in his short career where you have to add the caveat of when he's healthy.
When he's healthy, yeah.
Because he's missed enough time each of the seasons he's been around that I think that's become a real issue. But, I mean, what do you think of that in general? Like I said, it does seem like a trade.
Since you're proposing trades, can I propose another trade?
Of course.
How about Klay Thompson, Draymond Green for Joel Embiid?
I think Anthony Davis seems healthier than that.
He does, but I don't think he has the upside of Embiid.
Few players do.
I know.
Although I heard it, I know we live in a take society, but someone said that, Embiid right now, that when you watch Philadelphia week in and week out, he has a little bit of like early Allen Iverson to him, another Philly player, where there's a lot of highs, but when you watch the game, there's a lot of out of position. There's a lack of team defense, and there's some other things that he just doesn't seem to be doing. Like he's, sort of a highlight machine, performing very well on a mediocre team.
Okay, I need to divert you for a second. My watch just dinged. Guess what it told me?
What did it tell you?
That inside Jacksonville Stadium, where the fans were watching that game, they're yelling, "We want Brady."
Well, they got him.
They got him. So we'll see.
And again, I think Jacksonville needs to. They beat the Steelers, so good on them. No question about that. But that's a team that supposedly hung their hat on defense this entire year. And it was, and after the game, Jalen Ramsey and some of the defensive players were still talking a lot of trash. And I know they got the sack. They had 2 sacks. They scored a touchdown, and they had the pick. But they also gave up 45 points and over 500 yards of offense. So,
Yep.
Not exactly the best time to trash talk, because it wasn't your defense that really saved that game for you. Although they have played incredibly well this season.
All right, let's go back to NBA.
Okay.
I'm still frustrated watching my Oklahoma City Thunder.
They're looking better, though, still, overall.
They are, but I just don't like that. I just don't like the team. I just really don't like it.
I don't think they have a move, though. It seems
like you're trying to keep 3 people happy all the time, and I don't see how you can do that.
Well, when they do well is when it's 1A is obviously Russ, 1B is George, and then Carmelo is an afterthought.
If 2 are in the game scoring, they play well. If you're trying to get all 3 of them happy, it doesn't work.
No, and I know I listened to somebody that said that the coach has actually gone to Carmelo and asked him to come off the bench and sort of lead the second unit,
mm-hmm.
and he has made a stink about it. Because that's, I think, the best thing for that team. Because I think he could be instant
but he's
offense
not
off
that
the
kind of
bench.
player.
He could run, but he
That's not who he is, though.
no, but I mean,
He's an ego-driven player.
it's who he is. It just isn't. He doesn't realize that's who he is.
Well, 99% of the world realizes that's who he is. He needs
Exactly.
to look in the mirror.
But I mean, he'd be a fantastic. He'd get all the shots. You'd run the offense through him with the second unit. It just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because again, what he adds on the starting lineup, he's not good on D and he's not good on O anymore. I mean, great on O anymore. He's still solid, but he'd be a much better second line player.
All right, let's switch to the Lakers. Now that Luke Walton has the dreaded vote of confidence from Jeannie Buss and Magic Johnson, is he the coach next year?
I hate to say no, but I think the answer might be no, but I don't think it's his fault. That's a bad team.
It's a bad team, but I don't know why they had any expectations. I mean, it's the same team they had last year, pretty much. And you had a couple rookies that are playing. One's playing pretty well, one's playing okay.
Right.
But it's still the same team. It's not. You didn't have any free agents. You didn't have any really super players.
No, and you've got a team where since the summer you've been talking about trading away Jordan Clarkson, talking about trading away Julius Randle. Everybody's talking about will LeBron go there, will LeBron not go there. You've got the ball show. I mean, it's just, we're not talking about him obviously, but just in general discussion about the Lakers, but again, like I said, it's not a good team. It's a team led by two rookies that are just trying to learn their way around.
Yep. No, it's not a good team.
And then I think, like I said, guys like Randall and Clarkson, who are both, Randall's a pending free agent who, they want to move. Clarkson, they gave a big contract to a couple years ago. They want to move him. So I just feel like it's tough. I don't know what you can do in that locker room. Because I think, a lot of, turmoil and a lot of just craziness. And if I'm LeBron, I don't know if I want to go there.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I mean, I know LA, because again, I even think legacy-wise,
oh my God. Did you see that play?
I did not. I'm watching our podcast to make sure we keep the audio where it needs to be.
Thielen made a ridiculous play again.
He's fantastic. He made that catch in the first half where he climbed the ladder to grab that ball.
Well, this one he got interfered with about 5 times. Nobody threw a flag because it is the playoffs, and we call the games differently in the playoffs in the NFL. You can mug anybody you want today. It's ridiculous how he gets mugged, and he still catches the ball.
Yeah,
But then right before this, they showed famous Minnesota drives that ended with a missed kick. So I don't know if this happens. I feel so bad for them, but it's going to come down to a kick.
Of course.
And you get the ghost of all those kicks that they lost before against the Falcons, against the Seahawks. But that Thielen guy is amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty amazing right now that, depending on how this game plays out, and obviously next week in Jacksonville, it could be any combination of Bortles, Case Keenum, and Nick Foles.
Nick Foles.
I mean, I don't know what the odds of any of those guys making the Super Bowl are, but that's pretty amazing.
It is pretty amazing when you think about it. I mean, nobody would have picked. You could get some ridiculous odds on that trifecta in the beginning of the year. It does be 3 to 4 quarterbacks.
Without a doubt.
All right, let's switch to baseball. I'm still bumming because Garrett Cole got traded, and he gets traded for not the number 1 prospect, not the number 2 prospect, arguably not the number 3 prospect, but prospects 4 and 5.
Yeah.
And he's affordable, and you get 2 years of control left. I just don't. Again, for some reason, I don't think they get what they should get for their players. And the other thing about this one is, why now? I mean, you just signed him. You just made his arbitration deal, so you can trade him anytime. Why now? Why were you in such a rush?
And like you said, you got 2 more years of team-controlled players. You have 2 more years of control.
If you're going to trade him, you could trade him in April. You could trade him in March.
Right.
You could just keep playing these teams against each other. Maybe somebody goes down and gets an injury. You're in no hurry to trade him right now.
Unless you think he's going to continue to be the Garrett Cole from last year, who was a little shaky.
Obviously, the Astros don't think so.
Obviously, the Astros don't think so. But if you're the Pirates, if you don't want to showcase him, you want to get him gone before then. But the other thing I don't understand about the Pirates is it seems like part of the reason they're making these moves is they're looking around their division. They're looking at St. Louis. They're looking at the Cubs. And they're saying, this isn't our
We
window.
can't win. No.
But the guys they got from the Astros are ready to be up right now. So, it's not like you traded for, the top 2 or 3 prospects that are all like, way down. You traded for guys that are ready to be up now. So I want to see what else they're going to do. Because I know that there's more McCutchen talk. There's Josh Harrison talk.
Speaking of which, did you see McCutchen running 28 miles an hour on the treadmill?
I did not see McCutchen run 28 miles on a treadmill. Or 20
Look
miles
that
an
up
hour.
on social media. Watch him run 28 miles an hour on a treadmill. It is ridiculous looking. And the Vikings just kicked a field goal to lead
23-21.
by 2 with 1:29 left.
It's a lot of time for Drew Brees.
And for Keyshawn's nephew, who already has 2 touchdowns today.
Yeah, it's true. Well,
So
that
he
whole
hit a 53-yard field goal.
Yeah. Well, at least they made the kick, but now they could lose on another kick.
Yeah.
We'll
So anyhow, I'm still bummed about the Cole trade. I'll be bummed about when they trade McCutchen. If they trade Josh Harrison, I probably understand it. They probably trade Cervelli, I understand it. Whatever. If you're going to go now, go all the way. Get rid of everybody.
I think so. Reset.
Have a fire sale.
But I do
don't
still
expect anybody to come watch him though either.
No, and I still feel like I know the Astros are the poster child for bottom out, build back up, win a World Series.
Yep.
I know the Marlins have done it obviously a couple of times. The Astros just did it. That's sort of a small market, and it always sounds ridiculous to say small market with the giant cities, but still relatively so to the other teams. That's the blueprint now. Is get all the prospects you can possibly get, stink for a couple of years, and then win a World Series. But
you still got to be willing to spend money.
You still got to be willing to spend money.
Willing to do that.
And you got to get the right prospects. You got to develop them really well. Because in other news, the Yankees are absolutely stacked this year.
Yes.
The Dodgers are stacked this year. The Cubs and the Red Sox. So, at the same time, baseball still is a very top-heavy. The teams with the most money typically.
Here's what I don't understand. The Pirates are like the 61st biggest market in the country, I think, and the Cardinals are 59th. Yet the gap between the Pirates and the way they run baseball and the Cardinals is incredibly. It's like a galaxy far, far away. It's not even close.
No, it's not.
Why can't the Pittsburgh Pirates be the St. Louis Cardinals?
How much of that do you think it has to do with? Pittsburgh is clearly it's always going to be the Steelers first.
Yeah, it is, and the Cardinals are always going to be the Cardinals first. So that's the argument that people would make.
Right.
And they've won. I think the Cardinals are like second or third with the number of world championships.
It's true. I would argue, though, and again, this is a very Pittsburgh-centric podcast we have going today, that the city itself, though, they support if you're putting out a quality product, they go and support it. There's room for a baseball, hockey team, and football team in Pittsburgh if you're good.
Agreed.
Because again, the Penguins, since the time I can remember, like growing up in Pittsburgh, like from the Mario Lemieux in the '90s on, they've been a world-class organization, and they sell out all their games. And I think if the Pirates invested in that, showed, sort of the Pittsburgh pride towards themselves, like towards the city, I think they'd be fine. They would do as well as St. Louis does financially. They just had a lot of years of being a really bad,
they
really
were doing really well the years they were in the playoffs. They were doing really well. But the difference is in St. Louis, they do well whether in the playoffs or not. The people come. And it's a regional franchise. People come from Tennessee and Iowa and all these other places to come watch the Cardinals. And in Pittsburgh, there's a lot more teams around. Cleveland's close. Philadelphia's close. There's other teams. Washington's not that far away. So you don't have the big area to draw from that the Cardinals do. But still, they should be better than they are.
It's true. And I think, obviously the last or 2 ownership groups, or 1 ownership group that was really cheap and just really hurt the franchise, I think, a lot.
Agreed.
St. Louis has never gone through that, where they've had just a bad ownership group that just seemed to not want to spend any money or develop anybody. And on a quick update, I know people are going to know this before the thing is over. It looks like the Saints are going to get a chance at a kick for sure.
We'll see.
Barring a bunch of
53
sacks.
seconds. You're still going to move about, I'd say, about 15, 20 yards.
Yeah, not too far though.
But now Brees could do that.
He definitely could.
All right, we talk about sports. I can talk about pancakes.
Let's hear pancake talk.
Okay, I teased it out yesterday on my Twitter feed that I was going to unveil my top 5 pancake places in the U.S. So here they are. And I'm going to go from 1 to 5. I'm going to give you the best one first.
Oh, okay.
So number 1, without a doubt, is the Griddle on West Hollywood in L.A. Amazing flavors of pancakes. Mom had Mounds of Joy, which is like almond joy pancakes with fresh whipped cream. Guy next to me had Frosted Flake and strawberry pancakes. One of the girls had peach cobbler pancakes. They have the pumpkin pie pancakes. They have devil's food French toast. They have amazing pancakes. My number 2 pancake is the Mission in San Diego, which has blackberry pancakes, and I add strawberries and blueberries, so I come up with an unbelievably fruity pancake.
Okay.
My number 3 pancake is Pamela's in Pittsburgh, a number of locations. And what makes Pamela's pancake special is it's a crepe, and it has brown sugar in it, and it's very, very thin, and then the fruit is rolled up inside if you want fruit, or it's just a regular pancake.
Okay.
So those are my top 3. Now, my other ones are kind of up for debate. Maybe I was going to give the top 3 today. I was going to give the top 3.
Top 3
If you're
today.
one of those places, that's where you got to go. Those are great pancakes.
And I'm assuming, although you did not describe all of them, I mean, it's as far as like, because for me, I prefer not quite a crepe, but I like a thinner pancake as opposed to the big fluffy pancake.
Right. And so you would like Pamela's.
So I would like Pamela's.
Yes.
So I know that, I mean, a lot of people like a big fluffy pancake with a lot of,
And the ones I described aren't big and fluffy.
Okay.
But they're light. And they might be a little fluffy. And they're good, though. They're very good.
Very good.
They're very good.
Nice.
But those would be 3. Oh, and I guess 4 would be the I'll throw in 4. 4 would be the Brooklyn Diner in New York.
Okay. See, on a
That'd be
personal
my
note,
4th.
whenever you have the...
And that's a heavier pancake.
That's a heavier pancake. When you have the pancake, waffle, French toast, the sort of trifecta of breakfast, syrupy sort of treats.
And all these places have great French toast, and they all have great they have good waffles.
See,
they
I'm
have
always...
great French toast as well.
French toast is always my number 1 of those.
Yep.
Then the waffle. Pancake is my least favorite. I mean, I like the pancake, but it's my least favorite of the 3.
Well, if I gave your mom a vote, she would vote Brooklyn Diner number 1 for French toast.
Uh-huh.
Because they have Tony Bennett's French toast, which is basically cinnamon roll and pecan roll French toast.
Ooh,
so
fancy.
she's a big fan of that one.
Fancy. I see.
That's one of her favorites.
Well, I did not have pancakes this week. But I made my...
I didn't have pancakes today. I had pancakes yesterday at the Mission, and I didn't have them today at the Griddle. I had an omelet at the Griddle today because I didn't want to eat pancakes 2 days in a row, even though I really wanted them.
I didn't do anything exciting. I went to my favorite breakfast place in New Orleans again, New Orleans Cake Cafe and Bakery.
That is stellar. That's a great one.
And I technically
I
had
haven't had pancakes there, so I can't vote on that one as a pancake.
No. But they do have, as long as we're talking about sweet breakfast treats, they have the best croissant I've ever had in my entire life. I got 2 of them. I had one yesterday after my omelet, and I got another one for today because I eat whatever I want on the weekends. And it's like a dark chocolate croissant, very buttery, very flaky. And there is just, if you're a chocolate lover, there is a ton of chocolate. Like sometimes you get a chocolate croissant, it's like there's 2 little tubes of some sort of chocolate in there. This is just...
Yeah, or it's like a square of chocolate, yeah.
No, this is layered with real delicious dark chocolate inside, outside, multiple places. It's phenomenal. I know that's off the subject of pancakes, but we were on the subject of breakfast, and it just sort of came up.
I'm going to go see The Post this week.
Nice.
So I'm excited to see that. Any movies for you? Any more movies you want to talk about?
I still need to watch The Darkest Hour. That's my one Oscar movie. That and Call Me by Your Name. I still have not watched.
Gary
those
Oldman
two.
looks amazing as Winston Churchill.
He does. My next movie from last year that I'm going to watch, I'm actually watching after the podcast, though, is Blade Runner 2049. As last night, I revisited Ridley Scott's director cut of Blade Runner, just to sort of, put myself back in the Blade Runner universe completely. And I'm going to watch that one tonight. Which I know is not up for any Oscars, unless it's up for, like, special effects at some point. I don't know if they've announced that one yet, but I was very excited to see that one. So
Cool.
I am going to watch that tonight, and I can talk about that next week. Because obviously the original Blade Runner, all-time classic film, and just fantastic. So
Well, I guess we'll be in a better mood next week to do the show.
yeah, and it looks like, most likely, assuming they make this kick, we're going to get a Saints, Eagles, Jacksonville, New England Final Four. Which is...
And I feel so bad for the Vikings because the lady there is 100 years old at the Vikings game, too.
I know. It is. I mean, I guess every fan... I mean, that is the one thing I have to say as a Steeler fan. While they have fallen constantly to New England, of my conscious fandom, and I say conscious fandom is, when I was actually aware of football and the rules and enjoyed it on my own and not just because I was in the room with people, I've got to watch my favorite team go to 4 Super Bowls, win 2. The 2 that they won, I got to watch in person with my family. The last one with you. And it was one of the best Super Bowls, I think, of all time. And that, of course, was the Pittsburgh, Arizona Super Bowl with the James Harrison play and the Santonio Holmes play. And so, it's always good to keep it in perspective. So I feel like almost as a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, I certainly want more every year.
Jason, that's a good point. It's the way to look at it. We won 6. Some people haven't won any. Some people haven't even been there yet.
And you and I personally have been to 2 of the Super Bowl victories in person.
Yes.
I mean, that's rare company. And,
It is rare. I could ruin your day and tell you that I was going to take you to Minnesota if the Steelers would have made the Super Bowl.
Oh, I assumed that was happening. I didn't even, I was trying to figure out how many days of work I could miss. So.
Yep. Oh, well.
Yeah.
And there's the field goal. The Case Keenum gets the ball back with 25 seconds left. And you know what? Here's the one thing I hope. I hope that the great year that Case Keenum has isn't erased by this game. I mean, they were at 17-0. They've got outscored 24-6 in the second half. But a lot of that's on the Viking defense.
Yeah, and he has not played, his stats are 23 of 36, 240 with an interception. So he hasn't played fantastic. But I think at the very least, you look around the league, and he's one of the top 15 guys in the world that could do this.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's going to have any problem. Minnesota's in a weird position next year. Because you're going to have supposedly a healthy Teddy Bridgewater. I'll say supposedly, again, a healthy...
temporarily healthy Sam Bridgman.
Temporary help for Sam Bradford.
Sam
Bridgewater.
Sam Bridgman.
Yeah, you got Sam Bridgewater, whatever it is. Yeah.
I'm going to go Sam Bridgewater, and that's my cologne quarterback of those 2.
Yes. And then you're going to have, but Case Keenum is going to be your free agent who, led you to a division title and presumably to, the playoffs, which is, a number 2 seed. So, what do you do?
Yeah.
I know because he's 29, so he's got, 4 or 5 really good years of being whatever he is. And I think overall he had a fantastic year. I mean, the Saints, also people shouldn't forget, have an outstanding defense.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Just throwing that out there.
All right, well, let's sign off.
All right. Again, we're going to be more consistent, try to get out every Monday morning. It should show up in your feed. Likes on social media, likes on the Apple page. Tell your friends, subscribe, all that good stuff.
And we will not be talking Pittsburgh football until next summer.
Well, until the draft, because I will bring it up for the draft.
Okay, we can talk about the draft. The draft is fine.
Yes, I'm already scouring prospects of who I think the Steelers need to draft.
Fine linebackers.
Linebacker out of Alabama. I think he looks fantastic. He'd be great. Easy.
Yeah, I like that kid from Georgia too. That what was his name? Number 3.
Yeah, he's another one.
Yeah. Although we haven't had good luck with Georgia linebackers.
No, we'll stay away from those.
All right. Well, we'll talk to everybody next week. Have a good week.